Hi everyone, this is Alex for FNC Poker, and before we dive into this video, I'd like to let you know that we are actually running a giveaway right now. The one who gives the funniest comment to this video by Friday is going to receive a ticket to the Run It Once Bootcamp, which is a series of live webinars hosted by me, Paul, and other elite coaches about playing against recreational. So in order to win, make sure to take your funny skills out and comment to this video. On top of that, we actually are looking for more people to take into our CFP. We now accept lower stakes players, so for details on that, make sure to join our Discord community. This video gonna be the fourth part of the series Me vs Solver, where I'm playing button against a small blind 3-bet post-flop, so yeah, let's get into it. So the first hand we're playing, we see a triple Broadway board, obviously not as good for us as button, because we're not gonna really have queens here or kings. Jacks will be 4-bet at a decent frequency, along with some of our 2 pairs. I mean, king queen offsuit would be also 4-bet at a decent frequency. Ace king, we have it here, but again, a very low frequency play. And then we're gonna have the suited connectors, the under pairs, which are a bit more, a bit more of those in terms of percentages in our range than small blind. Therefore, this board is quite bad. Now, maybe the solver would implement some small frequency raising here. In game, I don't think we need to do that. It's not a good board for us. We don't have any advantage, so I would mostly just go for a call here, obviously not folding top pair, top kicker. And now when the jack gets there, I guess it's going to be a bit better for us, because, I mean, unless he bets range here, he's probably going to check a bunch of his jack-X, while we mostly call them because they are going to be 2 pair plus draw, stuff like that, against a quarter, so it's a decent run out for us, not the best for sure. Still, we have to bet quite polar here, right? I mean, this is not a spot where we want to bet ace-queen for value or anything like that. So we're going to bet our best bluffs here, which won't be that easy to find. That is why, as a caveat, triple Broadway boards are going to be very, very underbluffed. Is ace-king strong enough to bet here? I guess without the ace of spades, we could bet sometimes, hoping to get called, by lower flush draws, stuff like that. Ace queen, I mean, yeah, he can't have ace queen of spades anyway. So yeah, I think this might go for a bet. I just don't think it's very frequent. You already see we're using a big size, so I think our value range is going to be constructed again around stronger hands, and I would mostly check this. Again, on the river, is this worth betting for value? I mean, a bunch of our jack-X would bet on the turn. We still have queen-X. We block ace-high and king-X, which we're trying to get called by. So, yeah, I think this is just too thin to bet at this point. Actually, we're still betting king-10, king-9, stuff like that. He would probably bet most of his queen-X and jack-X by now. So I do think it's close, but still I think it's most often going to be a check back. Okay, and he did have king 10. Still, that hand blocks our bluffs. I guess he is supposed to call it. So there might be some interesting things to look at further in the solver with this hand, but you already know the rule of the series. We are gonna only look at a solution. If I do some mistake, luckily I was the solver now, no mistake. So yeah, if you're curious about that spot and studying it further, you can do it for yourself and let me know what you find. We see another small bet from small blind on a king-9 deuce board. In practice, my advice is when you see these very small sizes, you should actually implement some raises. And especially in real games, because most people tend to simplify, high betting frequency boards to range bets. And the way to counter that and, not let them gain more EV by range betting is to actually start finding some raises. And they do have a bit, more advantages to that, because when we raise in a spot like this, it's going to be a quite mergy-ish range, but then when we get called on the turn, we're going to bet very, very polar, and it's actually a lot of turns are going to be closer to range checks. Therefore, with a lot of hands, we can raise small, we get called because most people don't really 3-bet enough, on the flop, they don't 3-bet enough on the flop. And then we have the opportunity to check back turn and realize equity, and then we can, value bet or bluff the river because we are supposed to check back with value hands as well. So then when we face another check and shove river, it is going to be, we are going to have value, and it's also going to be quite overfolded because they also have the opportunity to bet their strong hands on the river. So I just wanted to mention this line because I don't really see it often in game, and I think it works very, very well. Now, not to get confused, this is not really the best board to do that on. The king high and the jack high board are going to be a bit exceptions to that because obviously we don't have ace king offsuit or ace king suited at any kind of decent frequency compared to what small blind has. So these king high boards, they are going to give them a bunch of advantage. It's the same with jack high boards because we're not really supposed to call ace jack offsuit ever, but he has it at almost full frequency, along with his overpairs that are still very strong on a jack high board. So this will be exceptions. On ace high, queen high, 10 high, 8 high boards and so on, it's going to get better and we can implement some raises. Here I would just pure call. We get the flush on the turn, and we need to get good at, reading how good a flush board is for us. That means how many of our flushes does it block that are a bit more exclusive to our range, and it does block some, depends on what we call here. He might not 3-bet 8-9, and we might call it. Same with stuff like 10-8 and so on. But then the king is not a flush, so he can still have all the ace kings that we sometimes 4-bet, and the ace high board. So I would say this is not the greatest flush for us. It's also not the worst. In this spot, we implement a bit, like our betting range is going to be relatively polar. I mean, we're probably not gonna go for a small bet with, I don't know, jack 10 here, but our sizing is small because as he's supposed to check here very, very often, he's still gonna have a lot of nutted hands. Therefore, we don't have a huge nut advantage here, so we can't go for huge sizes. This hand that unblocks all overpairs with a spade, all stuff like king queen with a spade, all king x, that are definitely still supposed to call a small bet here, even the straights. I think this will be almost close to a pure bet. I don't really see much reason to check this behind. And on the river, we're just going for it. I think this is quite self-explanatory, don't need to go further into details. And again, we played it well, so yeah, not much to look at into the solver here. The second hand we face bet on ace-9 deuce rainbow. This is supposed to be almost a range bet board, and I think this is where the concept I talked about previously applies way more. Here I think we should implement a small raising frequency, and it's actually going to work probably better in reality than in a solver. And we are actually supposed to raise quite mergy. I think 8s might actually make it into our raising range sometimes because they are supposed to get called by words. Like if you have 7s here, for example, he's supposed to call sometimes. He's probably supposed to call a bunch of stuff like queen jack, jack 10 with backdoor flush draws and so on. And even if we just get queen jack of hearts to fold, of clubs, for example, to fold here, that is going to be quite a good result for us. Still, that being said, it's not going to be a huge raising frequency. I think it's probably going to be under 36, but the idea is we should probably raise this hand at a low frequency here, which I don't think people really do, along with other hands they don't find. Therefore, range betting a small blind is going to gain more EV than a solver would say. As we roll a bit high, just gonna go for a call. We should probably call pretty much all our pocket pairs here. And a lot of unintuitive hands, which a lot of people are just not gonna find. We face a check here, which is supposed to be a very frequent play. When he bets close to range on the flop, and he almost doesn't filter his range when we do filter ours by calling, he needs to be very careful on the turn and shift towards betting polar. So when he checks, this is the same approach we are supposed to have on boards like this. We should bet our best bluffs and our best value hands. We're not really betting the middle of our range here, and I know this one seems, quite low in our range, and it is, but we are going to have lower pocket pairs. We're going to have 3s, 4s, 5s, maybe even 6s, which are going to be prioritized over 8. So I would assume this is going to be close to a pure check back. Wow, now that's a big mistake. Close to pure check back, actually 0 check back. Okay, apparently we messed this one up. Let's see why. So I was saying we are calling all our pocket pairs here, which you see is true. We fold some 6s. Of course, these are a bit better because they have a backdoor straight draw possibility, but we mostly call all our pocket pairs. And as I said, we're actually supposed to call some hands that are not that intuitive, like Jack 10 off clubs. These backdoors might be a bit more intuitive, but I still think people kind of overfold. And now going to the turn, you see, as I said, his betting range is going to be very polar. He's not really betting the middling of his range at all. And he's also having some slow plays. You see aces checking pure, 9s checking pure. With 2 pair is not going to be the case, but yeah, he has these very strong traps, and then he's also gonna have some strong overpairs. So we need to be careful here with our betting range. And we never bet 8s. Why did it say it's a mistake? Did I? Okay. It seems like I bet this hand on the turn, which is something I didn't mean to do. So we do check the turn. Okay, this is why the hand was a bit messed up. I'm sorry, but we got to learn some interesting concepts. So we do go for a check here, which is the correct play. I think I just misclicked. And now you see he's supposed to have a bunch of thin value bets, which again, I'm not sure people find in practice. I remember I actually played queens this way, and I went for a small bet, and the guy, he tanked call ace 10, and then he posted a what the fuck emoji. I was like, you what the fuck, you don't know poker, shut up. Okay, I didn't say anything, don't do that with rags in chat, because they might pick up on raids on you. But I was thinking of it. Okay, so when he checks, we see we are also supposed to check this back, which is what I thought I did in the trainer, so it's not a real mistake. Let's move further. A new hand. I like that GTOwizard gives us very different board textures, so we can practice on each of them. Here, this one is a more connected board where he also needs to be a bit more careful. The fact that it's queen high is not that good for small blind anymore because we now have the offsuit top pairs, top kickers, ace queen offsuit quite often, and also the ace queen suited. We have decent amount of queen X, and also the board being very connected. The equities are going to shift a lot, therefore small blind shouldn't really range bet on these kind of textures anymore. In terms of our betting range and the way we structure bets, it's going to be quite similar to pretty much all the other two Broadway boards. It's going to be polar. We're gonna bet our best bluffs, our best value hands, and not really the middling of our range. It might be the case that we still want to bluff those deuces, threes, whatnot, because again, it unblocks stuff like ace jack, king jack, pretty much any jack X, stuff like jack 10 that might call twice and fold by the river. But now we also have a bunch of stuff like, gut shots, flash draws, lower flash draws, stuff like that, that are probably going to be prioritized. That being said, talking about this range, sevens is nowhere in our betting range, no matter how we structure it for this size. So I'm just gonna go for a check, 100%. I'm the solver. Now the turn is an 8, and he goes for another check. I think at this point we are still supposed to construct a very polar range, as you also see here by the size indicated. The 8 is not the best run out for him, so it's not the kind of board where he starts betting very mergy. He will still have some slow plays, he's still gonna have some queen x, some 10x, and so on. Therefore, it's also not the kind of spot for us where we are just gonna start betting super mergy. You will see in some of these spots facing 2 checks, even if the board is like 10 high, let's say, we are still supposed and should bet stuff like 8s, 6s, under pairs like that, even for a big size like 3/4 or 66%. But here he's not betting so much of his value range, and we do need to be quite careful. Again, gonna bet our best bluffs, our best value hands. And yeah, probably our betting range is going to be constructed against a good queen that check back on the flop and 8x. In terms of blockers, I mean, I think this hand would make some sense to bet, to be fair, because it blocks 7-8, which, even though it's gonna be bet at some frequency, he's still gonna have it sometimes. And it also unblocks hands like ace-jack and ace-king that are probably supposed to call a bet here. And then also we might get stuff like ace-10 to fold, or maybe even jacks or nines, which is definitely good for us. So we might use this as the kind of, combo bet, which gets better to call, better to fold and worse to call. I think it makes sense. If we do it, it's probably be done at quite a low frequency. I think we probably prefer not having the 7 of spades because it blocks some not frequent but possible stuff that might call us here, like 6-7 of spades, like a7 of spades if he does 3-bet that. So I think it is a play that I would do at some frequency with different suits of 7s, but this one I think I would check back. And facing a small bet here, in game I would just fold. I think it's so difficult to people to find enough bluffs here, and considering how polar our range was both on the flop and on the turn, we're gonna have much better bluff catchers here, so just gonna fold this. Okay, let's do one more hand, hopefully another different board texture, so we can talk about, different concepts. And it does come quite a different board structure, in the sense that even though a small blind, as I said in the previous video, we could range bet this, I don't think people react correctly. I think we're gonna get some overfolding. The correct and theoretical way here is to construct your betting range around overpairs and maybe good jack-x and use a big size, obviously, along with your bluffs. And here, we need to be obviously a bit more careful as button. We still need to call a bunch of our underpairs, so no confusion with that. I think people will massively overfold here. We probably have to call all of our 6x, and if we have 3x even, definitely all jacks. And we are also supposed to call some backdoor, flash draw, backdoor, straight draw overcards, something like king queen. Ace queen is gonna be called here, but ace 5, considering it has just one overcard to the jack, and that one overcard is not going to be a clean out. I mean, he could easily do this here with ace queen sometimes, or ace king, or ace jack, and we can just get the ace and, lose. And if we do get the ace and face a triple barrel, that's already just a bluff catcher. So, not really great. Yes, we have a backdoor straight draw, but the SPR is getting quite low. And the lower the SPR, the more we value hands that, like king queen, for example, they can just turn a queen or a king and win against ace jack. With ace 5, it's much different because we need to hit a good turn, then call a bet, and then hit a good river, which what happens is just results into a lot of reverse implied odds for us. So this hand, even though it might look good at the first glance, it's not, and it's probably supposed to be folded pretty much all the time. Okay, this is going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned some new concepts. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and also give a fun comment on it to get your chance to win a free ticket to the Run It Once bootcamp. And also join our Discord community to get to know more about our CFP and just connect with us. Maybe send some hands for the weekly hand review stream we're running on Wednesday. So yeah, stick around and I'll see you in the next videos.